Considering the fact that B2B in India has a large component of unorganized players compared to B2C in India, given the fact that price variables in volumes to be taken into consideration, tax regulations and complex shipping requirements. And considering these two facts, how do you see how are the Indian B2B organizations evolving and gearing up towards this e-commerce trend? That's what is the first point of discussion. So let's hear
So,
you.
yeah, I think the B2B e-commerce players started sometime their journey in the 1990s. 1996, we saw some players like India Mart, we saw some players like Jumbo Tail. All of these players are, in the past 2 decades. And looking at their growth, I think the way they are investing and the kind of investments that are happening in these sectors, I think they're doing pretty good. And if you look at the host of players from Jumbo Mart, so from Jumbo Tail to India Mart to Udaan, so all of them have certain USPs. Okay, and they're catering to a very either a broad segment of buyers or to a very niche segment of buyers. And like you rightly pointed out, India has a huge unorganized sector. So if you look at some of these players, how they are catering to a lot of mom and pop stores. So I'm actually trying to see if the entire one of the B2B players, the wholesaler is going to die, is going to be phased out from the supply chain itself. So that way, I think yes, there's been tremendous growth, both in terms of new business models, in terms of investments, and in terms of the consumer, the markets themselves opening up to these kind of platforms. Yeah.
So, Dr. Jha, would you like to add on?
Well, basically, I think it is very early days right now. I have personally I used to work earlier in the formal sector, in the non-digital space, then I moved into the digital space. And I've realized it's all about now getting real in where the market is today. And I think the understanding that it is not going to be very, very different at all. The fact that today, if you make it, the moment we approach it differently, we are going to struggle in this particular industry. So I think B2B first and foremost has to change the mindset that you are not into a consumer, you're not into just a different segment altogether, because your customer is now your B2C customer, and you have to treat him like a B2C customer itself, because he's already aware or a lot of things which he was not earlier. You see, earlier what used to happen? Earlier what used to happen is we go to a client, he would not be knowing me as much, and we had to do all the kinds of awareness building in terms of products, services, prices, stuff like that. Today, it's not the scenario. So it's very, very important to get into the reality and understand, be strong in that particular medium, be aware across all the platforms. That in fact, it makes your task that much easier today, because even today, if you ask a layman today, or somebody who could be a potential customer, he's not aware of lot many B2B players today. He's not. I mean, if you do a sample survey, he's not aware of them. Whereas if you look at the online retail market today, the wholesale buying segment, the whole lot of people who are selling, they are very, very highly visible today. So I think the challenge today is first change your mindset and start realizing the change in the technology world. That's very, very important, because that is going to be the reality going forward. That's going to be a reality. And start looking at it from a consumer point of view rather than from a business point of view. That business is your consumer. He is your B2C consumer. And once that stage happens, you need to follow the same steps which you followed to get your consumer to your brand. That is how we'll have to build. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a struggle, because it's going to be a challenge. The B2B is not used to doing that. It's something new for B2B. So it's going to be a challenge, but then we'll have to adapt. We'll have to be quick. We'll have to get the speed factor into it. You'll have to move fast, because this is where the challenge of B2B business is going to be. Potential is huge, volumes are large, customer is ready to buy the product and service, but we face today ourselves, whether it's a telecom player, whether it's IT supplier today, there is a problem of issue. There is a major problem is they are not using the online platform as effectively as they ought to be using. Like the B2C customer is being targeted, really. So that is going to be the biggest challenge. I think it's a interesting time. People like you and us are going to be very much busy advising them, telling them how to go about it, how they should utilize, and that's how I foresee this sector. I think potential, as I said, is huge, but to understand the technology medium, the social media, the aspect which are realized to get your customer. And see, like for instance, today, one of the most important thing is we talk about personalization. You know, it's no more going to be customization. It's going to be personalization. I need to win my customer, not just show him what I can do for you. You know what I mean? That's going to be critical. What we talk in our B2C market, the CRM aspect. The CRM will take a big role now in the B2B segment today now.
Right.
That's where I feel today. So I think that's what my view is. I think these are challenging times, but I think beginning is happening. They are realizing but it's a process which will take some time, but it will happen. That's a challenge. How well they cope up, how soon they cope up, depends each separately on each organization.
Right.
I agree.
Tanya,
So I agree with Dr. Jha. But what I feel, given the fact that I've been working in digital advertising space in some time, I feel that that shift is already happening. Now, I would like to actually discuss some data points here. Now, if you look at the digital penetration in India right now, there are around 550 million internet users in our country. And if you look at the percentage penetration of population though, so while 550 million is a huge number, it's the second largest in the world. The percentage is only 37% of the total population. That means the legroom for internet access to grow in the country is huge. So given the fact that we have the second largest population in the world which has access to internet and is also actively using it, it's clearly a fact of life that everybody, be it a consumer, be it a business owner, we've all gone digital. And 90% of those people, those 550 million, are using internet on their handsets. So it's not even like earlier times in early 2000s when we used to go to office, we used to sit on a desktop, which was on our tables. But that business decision maker is right now connected with internet all the time during the day. And how it has also changed how it has also changed for small businesses is the fact that now at the moment after 2016 with Jio coming into picture and with internet penetration rising multiple folds, internet is also becoming a language enabled system now at the moment. So interestingly, there'll be people in smaller towns who would have access to search in Hindi, in Telugu. So it's becoming an enabler because it's accessible in their native languages. And more than that, if we talk about medium-sized businesses, it's basically, so internet is now about Internet of Things. Internet is also about cloud technology and flexibility, and that is allowing people to not just access but also create low-cost scalable solutions as organizations. So internet is also providing scalability and access to small businesses. We know so many people who have now become sellers on Flipkart and Amazon. They are running campaigns constantly to get more and more sellers on board, and for them it's only one additional stream of revenue, right? They just have to enroll, logistics are taken care of. It's just a shift towards an additional stream of revenue. Interestingly, earlier the biggest block used to be, it was considered that online payments are going to be the biggest block in the growth of shifting on digital for small sellers to medium sellers. But interestingly, at the moment, UPI has opened up that door.
So UPI, I think, is this technology which is grown a lot of trust in online transactions. And last year's data point is that there has been a 23% increase in the usage of UPI in the country, whereas the increase in the usage of ATMs is only 16%. So people are right now trusting UPIs probably more than accessing ATMs. So interestingly, this shift has happened so fast in last 3-4 years that it is almost, it's difficult to believe that it's already there, but you can see changes in the way businesses operate at the moment, and the role that internet is playing is phenomenal and it's imminent. And I think that shift has already started happening.
That's interesting.
I have a point to make, Asha, if you don't
sure.
mind. You can
Sure. Please go ahead.
So one of the things I think we should reconfirm when we are going ahead with this discussion is that though we may have a few B2C customers, but largely these players that we are going to talk about are largely catering to a bulk buyers, right? A lot of B2B buyers, so a lot of mom and pop stores and probably wholesalers or even standalone stores and so on. So therefore, there are few lessons to learn from the B2C e-commerce. Okay, like for instance, Dr. Jha was talking about personalization, and B2B e-commerce players have a huge opportunity of looking at data which at one point of time they simply did not have. Right?
Absolutely.
So this data is going to help them in a big way for personalization.
That's true.
As I said, e-commerce lessons that we can take from the B2C segment, the loyalty programs, okay, the different modes of marketing like email marketing, okay, why not an influencer marketing? Why not an industry influencer, right? So this has quite a lot of lessons that we can learn from how B2C e-commerce has succeeded in India, and probably that can be applied to B2B e-commerce too. So this is one of the points that I wanted to make while we go ahead with this discussion.
Well said. I think that influencer marketing is a very valid point. We were going to talk about that, but I was just wondering, when it comes to influencer marketing for a B2C, let's say, for example, the influencers are probably much different from those in a B2B, right? Because
Yes.
B2B requires more of a domain expertise, more of a strategic approach.
Right.
So maybe a celebrity branding for a B2B, although I know there are many B2B companies that are actually getting into celebrity branding. But to what extent is that actually going to make an impact on the ultimate consumer is something that I always wonder about. Because I think the consumer would want somebody who has used the product and who has technical expertise to promote the product. So the level of trust is much higher, right? So would the influencers for a B2B and B2C vary significantly? I'll just open it up to everyone.
Yes.
So there is a very interesting campaign that Amazon is right now doing in its B2B space. It's called Sambhav. It's called Amazon Sambhav, and that campaign primarily talks about the success stories of small businesses in terms of the transition to digital and selling on Amazon, and how that has beautifully translated into this wonderful campaign is that the organization not just thought about telling the stories on their digital assets, but they also printed them on the delivery packages.
Yeah.
So there were success stories of a lot of small sellers, which were right there on the boxes which you would receive in delivery from Amazon. And I mean, this is just one of the small efforts that they have taken, Asha, in terms of educating small sellers in smaller areas, helping them, kind of create their Amazon seller accounts. They have their own sales team, which is sitting and assisting them. More than that, they have these drives, which are, basically to enroll more and more sellers. And then they have their account managers who are helping these sellers constantly to set up campaigns and optimize their business, by setting up, smaller campaigns as well. So it's not just about opening up a channel to them, but it's also helping them understand how to scale it up for themselves. So I think once they switch online, the possibilities are enormous. And probably somebody like an Amazon in this picture is only trying to help them amplify those possibilities.
Interesting.
I think Tanya made a very good point. I think a very good
Yes.
point is that you see, Amazon is a leader. Amazon is a leader, and it needs to show to the world that it is moving ahead in every area, taking the first initiative. And being a leader in the e-commerce field in India today, it is setting the trend. There's no doubt about it. Purely, I totally agree with you there. And you see what will happen. What I foresee here, see, as technology has developed, in B2C it took time. Don't forget,
Yes.
today it took time. Today we're talking about 500 million users in India. It's been a struggle to reach that level. I remember I was to be in internet space in 2000 when we started our website and the entire India boom story happened. It's taken us almost 20 years that we have reached here today, the first 500 million. Whereas the next 200 million will take much faster and another 500 million will be much faster. So what may happen, you may have to adapt different strategies, maybe differently, a mixed bag. You may not have to do what you did there at 1, 2, 3, 4. You may have to do a 1, 5, 3, 2, something like that. You may have to do something also that you did in B2C. So something new may come up, like for instance, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now these are things you never had in those days, but something you'll have to adapt now itself. As Bharti made a very good point of data. You didn't have so much of data at that point of time. Now you have a lot of data. So these are things which you have. So we have to manage this change, rapid change, adapt it very, very quickly. You see, B2C was a slow process. I remember I have sold e-commerce myself through my website. It was not very big to UK and US in 2003. No one knew what e-commerce was at that time. It was a deep struggle. So things have changed drastically right now. And I think the key challenge is get your people ready for it also. Understand, the biggest challenge is going to be get your people ready for it. You know, India today, what is important today, we talk about skill development across. Skill development in B2B business is going to be a challenge today. Get your people to be ready to face the change which is happening very, very fast. It's not you. Your customer is going to see your website, is going to talk to you on the video, is going to see your experience of the, as you rightly said, influencer marketing. You need to show your happy customers on your website. They should be sharing their experiences. Use the website now more strongly. You know, B2C didn't do that at that early stage, but we can do it more stronger now in B2B segment. You can use your website, could be your seller. Who knows? Everything can happen through your website itself. Nobody has to go to the company and sell the product. The website does maximum selling if you're able to create a content much better. You see, content will play a big role again. Your website has to have your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page. All this needs to be well thought out. And so that people are going to get engaged with you. They need to get engaged. You need to get hooked to you. They need to spend much time with you. They need to know, they want to know more about you. You see, that's what we'll, when we spoke about personalization, is that what we have to create? So I think these are, I feel today, these are the sometimes flexibility you have to keep in your approach. Not necessarily, I agree with Bharti very clearly that a lot of things which learn the mistakes they made. Don't make the same mistake because they did it. You have to do the same thing. Take a flexibility approach, do the good things they did, and follow that that exercise and see to it. End of the day, your customer remains with you as long as possible. It's not going to be easy, but that should be the effort towards. Use all the technological developments to your advantage quickly.
Absolutely. So there is something very
I would like to.
sorry.
Yeah.
So there is an interesting case study which I would like to share, but Bharti, I would like you to continue with what you were saying, and after that, I would like to share a very interesting case study with you guys.
Okay.
I mean, that's something which.
No, this is something connected to what Asha was mentioning about how celebrities are also being used by B2B players. There's one interesting thing in India. Okay, India actually ranks second when it comes to using celebrity endorsements. Okay, and using a celebrity is like a success formula in advertising because, yeah, it definitely gets you attention, the eyeballs that you require. But does it also make sense for us to use celebrities in B2B? So we need to understand, let's look at a celebrity not as a celebrity, but a source who is going to talk for your brand, right? And if you're going to look at him as a source, you need to check: is he an expert? Is he really attractive? Is it required for a B2B product to have a very attractive, actor actress who can get you the eyeballs, or is something else? So there are a lot of academic literature on this, but then nevertheless, one of the most important things for us to understand is this expertise, credibility, trustworthiness is very, very important as a source when you are telling people, okay, this is a great brand. That's exactly the reason why today we have TripAdvisor, which has become so popular. Somebody who is not known to me is trying to tell me that in Dehradun, if you want to go, you need to look at this Airbnb accommodation. I'm going to believe him and I'm going to book it, right? So this is exactly what we are looking at. This is a lesson that we need to learn from B2C e-commerce. B2B e-commerce will have to leverage on the kind of customers they have, bring in that trustworthiness and credibility, and that's how they can look at influencing many more buyers. So I'm not a big fan of using celebrities in B2B, selling B2B products, but nevertheless, if it works in a bouquet of promotion that we're doing, why not? Let's do it. And if we have the money, let's spend on celebrities.
No, but my point, what Asha would have, when she said influencer marketing, not exactly the same as celebrity endorsement.
Exactly.
Influencer marketing is very different. It could happen someday, like for instance today, influencer marketing basically is the user itself. It could be anybody.
That's right.
It could be anybody.
So it's the age of micro-influencing.
I think the money, the train which happened, see, you had a lot of funding. Funding was very easy in the early days in the internet industry. People didn't realize the money was going to be a tough, it will be a difficult thing to get second round, third round funding. So people were trying everything possible to succeed. In that process, they took up endorsements, and you are absolutely bang on. I agree with you that you cannot follow a celebrity endorsement in B2B.
Yes.
It has to be a layman customer. It could be some unknown person in Dehradun, as you rightly said, or sitting in Jubri Talaiya, who could be a user and who could be the real credibility person. Absolutely. And that's why I said, so you have to understand what mistakes B2C has made. Don't make them, because the time available here is less. The failure cost is very high. You will not be able to get back soon. Competition is very stiff. Competition is very stiff. So you don't have the time, the luxury now. You don't have the luxury to make a blunder like that. So at the same time, money is going to be tight. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. So I totally agree. You're absolutely right. But influencer marketing, very effective. There's no doubt. Very, very effective. What Tanya gave example is basically an example of influencer marketing.
Exactly.
Amazon is doing is basically doing people, some unknown seller sitting in Bareilly is selling some carpets or whatever through Amazon, and he's happy about it. That is how you will build credibility. So Amazon obviously is able to, is a very experienced player in the field of technology. I mean, the other day I was sitting in Ahmedabad and someone said, what is Amazon known for? It is everywhere. It is in technology. It is in every, I mean, it's gone into every sector today. So Amazon is a very unique company, but these are the examples one has to learn from.
Exactly.
Like Amazon.
In fact, it's very interesting to note, Dr. Jha, that right now with the advent of internet, it is also the era of micro-influencers. So
Absolutely.
interestingly, for me who's sitting probably, like you said, Jhumri Talaiya, probably what a big celebrity is saying will not make as much impact as probably my neighbor who's running a small business and making the most out of internet. Testimony is going to be more effective. And thankfully, with the internet coming into picture, it's becoming easier and easier for every business to collect such stories and to share such testimony. So I think in B2B space as well, this one feature of utilizing micro influencers, which are essentially your own success stories, has been on the front since ever. In fact, there are some interesting, cases. So, technology sales, internet has always been in the front, and the way the sales process has evolved with internet's advent, it's very interesting to note, and it's very interesting to also note the kind of efficiencies that it has driven. So, there is a very interesting case that I had personally worked on for one of our
Mhm.
clients. Now this is primarily, in fact, I would like to mention the details also, because it's a very well known case study. So it's primarily for GE. So GE is also into manufacturing, the MRI and healthcare devices and machinery, right? And they used to sell to hospitals and nursing homes, and they used to talk to medical decision makers to make these sales. Now, when internet was not as much a part of this entire process, sales managers used to kind of be on ground all the time. They had to, from an outsider's point of view, identify what the stage of decision making it was. Now usually in such kind of purchase decision, the entire cycle of purchase decision making is it usually lasts between 6 to 12 months, because a lot of these machineries cost a lot. So they need to usually go out in the market, get the quotes, make comparisons, and then there is usually a CMO involved in the hospital who approves these decisions. So it used to be a team play where 5 to 6 people used to work within a hospital environment on such a decision for almost a time period of 6 to 10 months. And in that scenario, for someone like GE, a salesperson used to have a very blind view into what process, at what stage the process was in hospital A versus hospital B. And it used to be very difficult for them to gauge what was the right step. And even when telecalling used to happen, it used to be extremely, a lot of times it was very vague, because you might just randomly call a person and talk to them about the product and not know what stage of research he's in. So
Yeah.
how internet has helped in this entire process is phenomenal. I think B2B sales in any high involvement product has changed with the advent of internet, and I'll tell you how. So how GE basically changed the system for themselves is by utilizing marketing automation tools, internet-based marketing automation tools such as Marketo.
Yeah.
Now, Marketo has been taken over by Adobe at the moment, and it's an Adobe product to sell, and they are still associated with them. So what Marketo primarily does is that it kind of connects the backend of all your online websites and assets, and it connects it to the lead management system. So your sales efforts, I mean your sales team has access to the same leads which have been generated on your internet based assets. So let's say you run a campaign on LinkedIn targeted to CMOs and managers, admin managers, administration managers in different hospitals, and they click on your ad and they land into your environment, that entire connected environment. Once they enter into that system, you assign them a score and keep engaging them, right? So if a person lands in your environment once and he takes an interest in MRI machinery or some other imagery machinery or any other technology, you assign him a score by his visit number 1, and his score keeps on increasing by the number of visits by the number of visits or by the download of assets and by his research phase in your own environment. So by the time that lead reached to the sales team, it was assigned a certain score, and the lead score was a threshold defined by the sales team that if the score reaches 10, then this lead is ready to be called and to be churned further or to be qualified further. So that kind of reduced the redundant efforts on ground for them, and that increased the value of those leads multiple folds for GE. And most importantly, they could customize that entire journey end to end for that user, and they knew the conversations that were supposed to be made with that particular guy. So the person who was the representative of, let's say, Apollo Munich or Apollo Hospital probably had a different requirement than that of probably Vedanta, right? So they knew the exact requirements of each and every individual, and they could customize the journey and conversation.
Human element. The fact that today you need to meet your customer, you need to
Right.
know your customer one-to-one. Similarly, in B2B, you have to keep that aspect in mind. That's one change you cannot make totally. You'll have to keep that one-to-one. The person needs to know who you are on the other side,
True.
where do you come from, What's
True.
your credibility in real terms too? That's one thing you can't really take, because B2C you can do without it, but in
Right.
B2B you'll have to keep that human aspect. You'll have to be very
Absolutely.
human. You can't keep the
Absolutely.
human aspect away.
And for that, I think it's important to be present on all channels, right? So
Yes.
you also have
Yes.
to make sure that you have an optimum mix of traditional marketing and digital marketing approach when it comes to your
Right.
B2B. It can't be all
Right.
digital.
Yeah, and you know there are also concerns on privacy here. A lot of issues of privacy also needs to be looked into as far as B2B is concerned. As you are growing, as you know today, there are so many suppliers across the world today who
Right.
could be today, competing with you today. So
Right.
one of the aspects to be looked into and to be concerned about is about your registration, your trademarks, all the IPR issues, legalities. You'll have to be
Right.
very sure that those things have been taken care of on every
Sure.
aspect.
Right.
Because you could run into issues of duplication. You could have issues because somebody could just have a similar product and could make it highly competitive compared to
Right.
yourself.
Right.
So those could happen. See, one interesting point in
There is,
B2B you have to understand today, which B2B players need to keep in mind, is
Yeah.
that you need to use the data effectively, the
Right.
data analysis part of it. In the
Right.
sense that you must know the trends of your consumer behavior.
Right.
All these aspects were missing earlier.
Right.
The data analysis
So
part.
talking of trend, do you think the predictive analytics is something that people should be using very effectively
Yes.
to segment the consumers and then make customized offerings, as you said, more personalized?
More personalized offering than customized, more
Right.
personalized than customized, more
Right.
personalized. So you'll be able to analyze deeper now. The
Right.
data by analysis, you can analyze deeper, reach
Right.
the right customer with the
Right.
right fit, absolutely right fit. There
Right.
won't be any, any adjustments made that, this will manage will not work. It has to be
Right.
perfect. It has to be
Right.
to the point, purely.
Right.
But that will help if you are able to use the data effectively and analyze what
Right.
exactly is my customer requirement in every
Right.
aspect.
Right.
one point I wanted to quickly make. Okay.
Yeah.
Traditionally, the entire B2B relationships have been built on two things. One is trust, the other one is flexibility. Okay.
Yes.
If the same can be,
And also price.
transcended
And also price.
online.
And also price.
And also price.
Yeah.
If you can build the same element of trust, in fact, I feel the element of trust has to transcend. Okay.
Yes.
So that is very, very important to be built through e-commerce B2B. So earlier, traditionally we have heard of wholesalers who are family-owned businesses. They've been working with a company or a set of companies for for 40 years, 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
And the trust is built between a company and the wholesaler from a very, very long period of time. And suddenly
Right.
you are going to replace the person with a screen, right? And the kind of trust that you need to transcend from a B2B traditional relationship and to an online relationship is that, I think that is one of the biggest challenges with respect to success of B2B.
Yeah,
The
Bharti,
other aspect of
see, Bharti, I'll tell you the point which you're talking about trust. Keep one thing in mind
Yes.
today that while you are having this trust factor, now suppose if I'm the father who started the business, I knew the owner of a particular company very well, and I was dealing with him on purely relationship basis. Now my son
That's right.
today
That's right.
is going to deal with his younger version. Even in the company today, there's going to be a younger person who's going to manage that particular portfolio. Now, it is important, you have to understand today that they'll be similar, very similar. And you have to therefore address the person in a manner which we'll understand. So, and today, if you find we are lucky today, our younger generation today is much more adaptable to technology. And they're very quick to respond to various aspects of technology very well. So they have to treat that other customer as a young customer itself. My father dealt with somebody's father doesn't necessarily mean I will have talked to his father or uncle. I'm going to talk to somebody who's similar to my age, to my profile, to my type of person. And that's because that's how the consumer has to be understood. And that's how it's going to be. Look at the way today the internet companies today across the world today. And nobody is beyond 30, 35. Everybody is young. They're very strong in technology. They're aware of a lot of things today. They're aware. So I think the trust factor is there. There's no denying. And that is a challenge online faces every day, day in, day out. You know, we face that challenge. So being on online, nobody knows who you are at all. Nobody knows who you are. You could be the...
I was actually...
Yeah, Bharti.
The point I was actually trying to make was very specific to one example of Jumbotail. So Jumbotail is a Bangalore-based, B2B player,
Right.
and largely into food and groceries. As of last year, they've connected with 20,000 mom and pop stores. So
20,000.
traditionally, 20,000. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, a Kirana store, had with many places. But today, all these mom and pop stores have an app through which they can buy whatever their requirements are. So this is what I was talking about, trust. Okay, at one point of time,
these mom and pop stores are in Bangalore itself, or they are outside Karnataka?
Yeah, so I think to a larger extent, Bangalore, this Jumbotail caters to a large number of players in Bangalore, but they also have players, bulk buyers across other places also.
Yeah, but then you see, South has always, I always felt in my own work experience that going down south, beyond Karnataka, Kerala, Chennai, and Andhra Pradesh, I think technology adaptation, modern approach to retailing, openness to new ideas has been much faster, and they understand the need of the hour. In Northern India is a very different market. Here, the trust of human element a big role here. See, India is diverse. Right. India is very diverse. Right. Only technology will not work. So that's an aspect we have to keep in mind. That's a challenge in the Indian market we have to always keep facing and countering. From time. But you are absolutely right. I agree with you.
I totally agree with you. But the point is very simple. Whether it is a Kirana store making purchase through an app, or directly meeting, the representative of the company,
absolutely,
the trust factor continues to be a very, very important element.
Very, very important. There's no doubt. There is no doubt. There is no doubt. I totally agree with you. I totally agree.
So when we are talking of using technology effectively, is it just about building up the technological skills, or is it also about building up an ecosystem where people are made more aware of how to use technology and how to interface across functions in an organization, how to make sure that the customer connect happens? Is it more to it than just technology?
I think it is
you
both.
Can take it. I'll take it later. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it is both. Yeah, but what actually precedes would definitely be the ecosystem. In fact, Alibaba today is one of the top players simply because of the ecosystem that they have built. I think an ecosystem of not just buyers and sellers, but several other stakeholders. Like for example, somebody who can finance the purchase, logistic players, okay, or even other bulk buyers, okay. So therefore, I think it is building that ecosystem is very, very important. And then, of course, yes, how to ensure that even the smallest of the bulk buyer, interfaces with this technology comes, your, technical skills. But I think the most important thing is, of course, developing a very, very good ecosystem, a very efficient and effective ecosystem that enables bulk buyers to purchase.
No, I agree, Bharti. You're very right, because you cannot do it in isolation. You cannot do it in isolation. You'll have to understand that everybody, all your stakeholders, everybody, the entire everybody who's involved in the business, every aspect of the business is able to benefit out of that entire advantage. Yeah, and they are able to talk and you see the efficiency of the ecosystem, how well it's organized, how it's been established, will make it popular as we move forward. Because it has to be a it has to be a whole hog. It cannot be just a particular initiative or a particular activity which the organization adapts. So I think if you see today, and you have given a lot of examples, I'm talking about JioMart today. Look at JioMart or Reliance today. These are examples today. Reliance enters a segment purely ready with the ecosystem. It doesn't enter a segment today, whether it's mobile, whether it's going to be retail now, and I'm sure they're going to be one of the biggest B2B players too in the days to come. And Reliance understands they're building it through B2C to B2B straight away. They're doing it very, very right. They're using the technology the smartest way an organization should build, because they're setting up an ecosystem. If they are not set up an ecosystem, they would have struggled. But they have been very smart players. They know the business well. They know how Indian business operates, and they have used technology across. If you see any sector they have gone into, they have built the ecosystem so strong that it doesn't affect. When they come in the marketplace, they're always going to be a success story. And it's a great example. One of the biggest. Tata's didn't build the ecosystem. They were a great corporate entity, but they didn't build the ecosystem, and they didn't succeed everywhere. They succeeded wherever, in some ways, or in some sectors, but they have not done as well as Reliance did, and it has been doing, or will do probably in the days to come in various areas. So ecosystem is going to play a very, very big role. Initial investment in the business itself is a one key aspect. Looking at long term, not being myopic in your approach. It's not the cost factor, it's the potential factor which has to be looked at. And I think if you look at the potential factor, as Tanya mentioned some time back, we are into just 500 million. Today we have to go a long way. We still have 3 times business consumer base to target today. Look at the potential. If that is how it's going to be, then I think the ecosystem has to be looked at as a whole. And then that's the only way you will succeed in this particular area. There's no other way.
So it's been a very quite interesting discussion that's going on. So we didn't stop you in between. Coming to we have understood how what are the takeaways from the B2C marketing and how it has to be replicated for B2B and all that. Coming to the digital advertising campaigns, we are seeing that the B2B advertising is almost converging with B2C. It's almost similar to B2C nowadays, and some of the companies, how they have been driving their ad campaigns, like WeWork, EASF, Murugappa Group, and Saint Gobain. So these are some of the examples where their campaigns are as good as a B2C ad campaign. So would you like to share some specific to the advertising they are driving, the digital advertising, the way B2B marketing companies are driving? So would you like to add on to this, some examples to this? Dr. Jha, do you want to take this? And
you're speaking about advertising campaigns to be built for B2B business, how to promote it.
Yeah. Some of the impactful B2B ad campaigns or the brands that you can recall or something.
Well, I'll tell you what. There are telecom players who are doing a lot of these B2B promotions. Vodafone is to a lot of it earlier. Yeah. But largely I feel today that B2B promotions don't have to be very highly visible across all segments. They need to be targeted very clearly, very targeted. It has to be target specific. If I need to target a certain set of industry, I'll certainly need to find particular, like for instance, if I'm a auto component supplier, then I need to be in that particular zone. I need to be in that zone.
Yeah, the audience.
Yeah. So it has to be very smart, and that's where digital helps. You can do smart, email marketing can be a fantastic opportunity. Some time back, people said email is dead. I think email is very much alive. It depends on your content of your email.
Yeah, specific to the
Emailer.
B2B.
You know, you
Yeah.
could just send a nice, a personalized letter or an offer to your customer or to your target base. So I think the advertising part, it will be not obviously on the lines, the kind of money which B2C people spend. I mean, that kind of money, obviously, B2B you don't need to spend, because B2C was a larger mass of people you have to target. Here it is very focused, very targeted. So obviously, I think
Yeah.
it will be largely in social media. Social media is where you need to focus, especially websites like LinkedIn will be very popular because then they are in this space. And one will have to, as I said, in this case, look at their own websites. Their own websites need to be very, very well interactive. You know, a
That's
lot of
their
times you
most
find
important
today,
asset.
yeah. You know, websites have been very mundane and dead, absolutely.
Correct.
In terms of, you know, they're not looked at. They always have thought that website is more about information. I think website should
Yeah,
be
especially it was especially concerned to B2B. It was just about product.
absolutely. And I've never felt, you know, that there
UX was
website that
completely missing. I
yeah,
mean,
big. So if you can make a website, you know, fully, you know, I
Interactive.
would say, filled with
Interactive, maybe.
content, interactive tools should be there where people can answer promptly, use bots, AI effectively in those areas, and get prompt answers, give prompt questions. Your questions should be answered immediately. They should get prompt answers to the queries. That is where the challenge will be, and that's how they should effectively use and update, and you know, keep on refreshing the website with something new, with new product, new services, new ideas.
yeah,
That's where the focus is. You know, the traditional approach to a website needs to move out, make it more talking point, becomes your brand, becomes your B2B brand. Your website becomes your B2B brand by itself. They're the ones who do all the aspects. So it has to be done very smartly. You know, this B2B advertising should be cost effective.
Tanya, you're
Not
not
all
able.
things should be put on technology
You're not able to
rather
do.
than spending on advertising.
Sure. So I'll just kind of revisit and quickly run us through, the pointers that I'd mentioned earlier.
Yes.
That before internet's advent, B2B sales was a much more tedious affair, where the salespeople had very limited insights into what product is one business looking versus what product the other business is looking at. So their sales pitches used to be very, very monotonous and very tone deaf. More than that, for them it was very difficult to even understand the stage of research which the business was in already. So for them it was really difficult to understand how the pitch can be customized. But now with marketing automation tool, it's so much more easier. So how GE is doing it is all their online websites are linked to this one or marketing automation tool called Marketo, which primarily assigns a score to every individual who's in that environment at different points of time. So when the business decision making process lasts for 6 to 10 months in high involvement products, it is expected that such a decision maker or decision influencer would keep visiting different websites of different vendors to get different quotes, and to also understand the installation process of such technology, different case studies, white papers around the technology. They would keep visiting and revisiting that particular vendor's landing environment again and again. And what a tool like Marketo usually does is that it assigns a cumulative score basis the kind of interactions that one individual has already had with the environment. So for example, if there is a hospital A who's right now in that pipeline for 2 months, and they have only downloaded one white paper, that would assign him a lower score, that particular individual, that particular leader, lower score, because their interest level has just started and they are probably in the beginning stages of the research process, versus probably hospital B, which would have downloaded 4 white papers already, and would also be looking at the costing options already. So basis the score which Marketo assigns to different leads, the lead management system has a record of it, and the sales team also knows what exactly is the history of every lead. So when they give them a call, they already know the conversation needs to be around this product, and they are already in this stage invested these many number of months, and probably also know by the lead that this is the amount of money they want to invest and this is the scale of their business, or their, I mean, in this case, profitability requirement. So how Marketo helped them was to basically process their leads better, and that helped them increase their business efficiencies by up to 60%. So they were able to translate more and more leads effectively and in a more customizable fashion into business. So it was a simple solution, providing the right type of content to the right type of person at the right stage of their research process, and that gave them phenomenal results. And interestingly, the same tool now is also used by a lot of other technology providers like Microsoft, IBM, Cisco. All of them are using these kind of tools because for them a lot of their product researches happen on internet. So I think Internet of Things is transforming the way B2B sales and lead management actually can be handled, and it's making it much less manual, much more automated, customized, and easier to manage.
Right. Interesting. I was actually missing the completion of your interesting story, so I'm glad you're back. So I think Professor Jha has another engagement, so I won't hold people around for long. Maybe everybody can share closing insights for a couple of minutes.
Bharti had something to say.
Oh, sure,
I mean,
sure.
Yeah, Bharti, yes. On the advertising part, yes.
Advertising. Okay, so we were talking about advertising. So basically, there are two things that I have noticed about B2B advertising. These are from because I teach this course on digital marketing, and students are typically required to do, engage with companies to do projects. We have a lot of B2B B2B players also who are a part of this particular segment. There are two types of advertising which B2B players engage. Largely, it is related to personalized content being sent, or some kind of social media, engagement and things like that. But where I think the trend is going on, especially with WeWork and Murugappa Group that we just talked about, is brand building in B2B. I think brand building, advertising for brand building in B2B is a very, very important aspect of ensuring that your brand grows. I do agree with Dr. Jha when he says you don't have to have your brand, being made visible like the way you do it for a B2C market. I totally agree with that. But then brand building is a very, very important aspect of ensuring that B2B has a much longer stay in the market. It sustains in the market, but at the same time, you require a certain amount of short-term advertising, which requires probably influencer marketing. Like Tanya was mentioning about, one of the biggest problems is shopping cart abandonment. Okay, so where do you get people put things in the shopping cart and don't finalize the purchase? So that's a big problem, not just in B2C, but also in B2B. So a lot of data, how you manage, the data points that you manage, what people are talking about your brand, social conversations, community building in B2B space. It's all of very, very important that goes in the long run building of your brand. And that is where I think advertising should, divert itself, rather than really focusing on short-term requirements of SEO or SEM or email marketing. I'm not saying that they are not important, but then it requires a blend of these two. Yeah.
Interesting. Closing remarks from everybody.
Yeah, Tanya, you can start. you're the youngest.
Tanya is gone. Is she here?
I'm right here. Yes.
Oh, great.
So I think my closing remark is that internet marketing on internet is basically synonymous with efficiency. It's that mode of advertising which will ensure that you get most out of your bucks, and it would always ensure that you can optimize basis your business requirement and campaign requirements. And I think that makes it a really good fit for B2B campaigns as well. Definitely the needs of a B2B campaign would be very different. The audience that they would want to reach out to, they would want to reach out to them in different environment and in different state of mind. But with new options coming up for us to identify the decision makers online behavior and the business decision makers online, and to also cater to their content consumption behavior and to intervene into that, actually makes internet advertising a very, very effective proposition for B2B marketing in current scenario. And also it allows you to access the more humane side of the decision maker by personalizing it more to his exact needs. So with all these scenarios, it seems like internet marketing for businesses has a long way to go in the country, and it would only grow more and more with the increase in internet penetration in the in the country. So that's what I think lies ahead of us.
Great. Bharti?
Yes. Last year, 2 years ago in 2018, three major players, Jumbotail, Ninjakart, and Shopex, had huge amounts of investments being made. So that's a very, very important indicator of where this particular B2B e-commerce is heading. So with more and more players, I think this is going to get very interesting. But then, there are horizontal players like IndiaMart. So they continue to provide much better services, increase their range of products, have associations with very important players like ABB and Bosch and all of these players. But at the same time, the vertical platforms are also very interesting, okay? Because a vertical player is an expert. Like, for example, Jumbotail is an expert, okay? So we have Ninjakart, again, is an expert. Ninjakart only talks about, looks at fresh produce supplied from farmers, right? So these vertical platforms are experts in a particular category, and this is very, very interesting to see where they are going to head. So that's, I think, is one very important indicator we should look at. Another thing that I already mentioned is about ecosystem, like what Alibaba does. So if you go to Alibaba's site and if you're looking at buying sunglasses, the customization that is required is very, very different from somebody who is wanting to buy furniture. So I think this level of personalization, customized content is again a way to go forward. And I was also talking about ecosystem. It's not just about creating a platform for buyers and sellers to come together. It's about bringing a financier, bringing a logistic provider. Right now, IndiaMart does not give you logistic support, but by bringing in logistics players in the ecosystem, by bringing in financiers, by also bringing in service players, I think that is going to make this B2B marketing very, very important sector to look at.
Very relevant. Professor Jha?
Well, I think basically this is going to go the way. I think these are very exciting times. Every organization today needs to be in a volume business, in a B2B business. They need to change their stance. And as it has happened in B2C segment, things have now become, consolidation has taken place. People are now realizing what are the priorities. You need to prioritize now. You need to put it on priority table, that this is what is important for B2B. Earlier, maybe you're not that keen or you're not aware how important technology was going to be. Now that you are aware, put it on the drawing table and see to it that these aspects are followed. Because one of the things you have to keep in mind today, no organization today can survive without a B2B business today. Because that's where the volumes come from. That's where your bottom line, your entire plant, your factory runs on B2B business. Your B2C market is much more competitive. B2B market, if you are able to get your customer to believe all the words which all of us have used during a discussion, trust, influence, ecosystem, all this we have built up, it will help, because ultimately that's where the company's survival will matter. So the company should prioritize it, realize the importance of it. And I think today looking the way around when I meet people across in the business conferences and various seminars, I feel the people now are realizing it. They're not changing overnight. It's going to take some time. It's not good. See, as a mindset issue, they have to change in the mind first. They have been very comfortable doing it one-to-one, so they had to change because as it took time. Don't forget to make. I was in Life Insurance Corporation of India in Bombay in 2002, and I met them and asked them, "I'm from an internet company." He said, "What is the internet?" So he had no clue what the internet was. Imagine. And today they are one of the largest spenders on internet today. So times change. They also have realized it. I had to meet the chairman of a company that time, and he believed it. But the bottom line organization was not ready for do it. So they had to train the people. I met the SBI chairman at that point of time, and I used to represent moneycontrol.com, my website in Web 18, and they didn't realize that they said, Dr. Jha, I don't have the people to manage my business today. I may do a campaign, I may do a website campaign across all the websites, but if tomorrow I get the lead, who's going to manage the lead today, tomorrow? So, you have to develop your organizational skills, as Bharti very clearly mentioned about the ecosystem, and Tanya mentioned as a young person should, influencer marketing, it's a young driven activity. You have to get people who are using your product, no matter who the person is, wherever he is located today. So, all the good things which have worked in B2C and something which will only work in B2B. You have to combine both and see to it that you succeed. That's the more important part. But use social media, AI, machine learning very, very, very smartly, because this is going to be the reality. You can't do without it. You have to live with it. That's what I feel. These are exciting times, wonderful times.
One last thing that I just wanted to make on the same note was that internet is actually giving the power back to the business owners.
Absolutely.
So earlier, I think access of knowledge was, it was always a challenge.
Limited.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think internet is just opening more doors and making knowledge and expansion always an approachable proposition. And I think for anybody, be it a small business, be it a bigger one, no matter what access to resources they have, this freedom and this power is transformational, and that's what
Absolutely.
internet represents.
Right.
Right.
To add to Tanya's point, just to add to Tanya's point, okay, in terms of real numbers, because that's what matters in numbers. Traditionally, wholesalers used to, significant margins used to be with wholesalers. But with B2B e-commerce, those margins have transformed to retailers. Today, retailers happen to enjoy those big profit margins, which was at one point of time, a significant chunk of it was with wholesalers. I think that is to a larger extent sums up where we are heading with respect to B2B e-commerce.
Right. So if the internet penetration that has already happened is leveraged to the maximum, I think the reach for a good product and for a good B2B player will be seamless. I think this has been an awesome session. Everything that was relevant has been covered. So I won't even dare to add on any more points to this. I would just like to conclude with a quote that I read from Doug Warner, which says, "In the world of internet customer service, your competitor is just one mouse click away." And I think that's as relevant to
Very well said.
B2C.
That's
Very well
a good
Wonderful.